Wow, guys. Good morning. A lot to cover. Crazy morning. Started with Twitter having issues, and I'm like flying blind. I didn't realize how reliant I am on Twitter for news. Some key accounts I was following. There's a lot happening. Oh my gosh, just in the last few minutes, and then GOEV here with with some news up 12%. Let's see if we can get through it all. And then we have for our VIPs, we have a special presentation on Zoom at 10 a.m. Actually, that presentation, which is going to be on Cantaloupe with Mark Gomes, CTLP. This one, it will be open to the public, but Q&A is only for Story Trading VIP members. So, all right, that's at 10 a.m. 9:09. How do we do this? Let's get started. QQQ, SPY, overall, what's going on? Market's down 1% this morning. Yesterday, this is what's interesting. We had the CPI numbers, which came in hot, but then what I was noticing throughout the day was that the odds of a 1% increase in the interest rate, 100 bips, as they say, basis points, the odds of that kept increasing dramatically throughout the day. It started in the morning at it went from like 10% to 30% when the hot CPI numbers came in. And then throughout the day, I think by the end of the day it was 80%. I don't know where we're at this morning, but right there explains to you, what's going on with the market, why we're gapping lower as people digest this and say, wow, interest rates may be going up 100 basis points. But let me remind you of the big picture here. Yeah, we can retest the lows, but as long as we stay over this 200-week moving average, I think we're still in good shape as far as stock picking goes and potential bottoms that we've already seen in risk assets. I'll be repeating this every single day until something changes, right? If we break the 200-week moving average on bad economic data and it looks like there's a stagflation or an inflation we can't control into a recession, that's when things could get ugly and we can potentially get new lows, even in the stocks where we thought the lows are in. But for now, I'm still bullish as long as we stay above this 200-week moving average. And it's going to be much the same for SPY and ARK. ARK has a better chart, as you know, with that low in so far. Did not get a new low last time the major indices hit a new low. We're looking at risk assets here. Bitcoin and ARK are two indicators. So it's interesting. Bitcoin's been stable, which is a good sign for risk assets, I guess. Then we have oil that we're very important that we're monitoring. Oh, that's good. It's down this morning. I like that. Looks like it's heading to the 200 moving average. Is this a daily, I guess, 200-day moving average. So that's great for inflation to cool down and get us out of this recession sooner rather than later. I know it's not officially a recession yet, but it probably is. Okay. Then natural gas, very volatile. Okay, XLF. A couple things we want to look at. I have this ETF up for the financial sectors because we started getting earnings today. I think it was JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley. All right. Not sure we have time to get into it. Let's look at it real quick. All right. Let's go into the news feed for JP Morgan. There it is. JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley shares slide after earnings fall short of estimates. Okay. And so here, let's get some commentary. Jamie Dimon, the U.S. economy continues to grow and both the job market and consumer spending and their ability to spend remain healthy. But geopolitical tension, high inflation, waning consumer confidence, uncertainty about how high rates have to go. Never before seen quantitative tightening. There was also something else I saw in here about less deal flow, which these companies rely on to make money. I don't know where that is. Maybe it was in a different article. These are the factors that are very likely to have negative consequences on the global economy sometime down the road. Okay, so JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley are down 3.36%, 0.5%. But look at the XLF, which I posted up here. The 52-week low is $30.58, or $30.62 on the bid. So that is right near a new low, and it's right near the 200 DMA. So I don't follow financials much, right? I don't know if I haven't studied them. I don't track them. I don't know if this is going to be some sort of leading indicator potentially. If this breaks, let me see what the 200-week is on this one. That'll be interesting. On the 5-year, okay, it's right at the 200-week moving average. Although it broke it at COVID big time. Was that COVID? Yeah. But in any case, that's the story there for those of you who may know the financial sector better than me. maybe you want to take a closer look at that. Maybe there's a clue in there as to what can happen next with earnings coming over the next 2 weeks. We're going to get into the big tech earnings, and the mega caps and things like that are coming soon. Okay. So that's the story driving markets this morning. It's XLF, financial earnings. It's what happened in CPI and interest rate expectations. There's also, though, a standout here. Tower Semi raises guidance this morning up 2%, raises revenue guidance despite chip boom. So that's potentially great news, maybe for the entire sector. So I don't know if this is something specific to Tower Semi or the whole semi sector. So let's take a look at the semiconductor watch list that I have here. And we can see not much of anything in pre-market that, well, AMD's up. Okay. I guess the ones that have a little more volume are the Tower Semi and AMD. Intel, okay, I don't know what to maybe hopefully this will be a tailwind for some of our stocks like Air and Plab. Not sure. We have to dig into that news a little more to see if it's an industry tailwind or something specifically for Tower Semi. Okay, so that could be driving some sector moves today. All of that. As we look at GOEV now, up 14%. So let's look at this news. When did I got into this early in the morning over here. We made some money. I forgot what's up, 390s, fours, low fours. We sold some at 440 or so, but I held a lot of the shares down here. This is on the Walmart news, big Walmart news. This morning now, I guess this is an EV company. They're selling, looks like about $180 million worth of vehicles to Walmart. Now, this morning on a pop here, U.S. Army selected Canoe's multi-purpose platform for analysis and demonstration. As an American company based in the heartland, it's an honor to be selected by the U.S. Army. There's another opportunity to prove our proprietary technology. So analysis and demonstration, this does not look like, revenue at this point yet, or big revenue. Stocks up 14% on this. It may be a little bit stretched on that news alone, but you sentiment, catalyst, technicals, and fundamentals. And, I think that this is more of a sentiment boost on top of what's a improvement in their fundamental picture with that Walmart investment as well. They're probably going to end up buying 22%, 20 to 25% of the company via warrants, but I'm sure they're getting an upfront payment for those EV vehicle orders as well. So you have the backdrop of fundamentals, a technical pullback, and then you have more news, which fuels positive sentiment. And that's why I think this move is exaggerated, up 14%. We wouldn't be at 408 if this news came, if it was $2.35 and this Army news came, we wouldn't be at 408 right now, right? It's already elevated because of the fundamentals, and everything I just explained gives it a little bit of a tailwind here. So that's the story with GOEV. Option premiums are huge on this thing, right? I sold some $4 or $5 options? I forgot. I sold some covered calls, which I'd bought back the same day, made a nice profit on Tuesday. But this is another opportunity. Like, if you want to hold on to your core shares, I may be selling calls right at the open on GOEV, covered calls. Okay, so that's something to look into. You know what? Let's look at support and resistance levels here. Obviously, $5 established a huge resistance level. That was a huge wall on level 2, and it on the nose, it pulled back. So $5, huge resistance level. I guess this right here, which was the open for the day. Or was that the close of the day? That was this candle here. Yeah, that candle was the open of the day, 465. So maybe 465 and 5 are resistance levels, and then ultimately 6. But, in this kind of market, I wouldn't be surprised if it just sells off all day at whatever it opens at. So we have another 13 minutes to see what it opens at, which is why I'm going to be selling covered calls probably at the open. All right. Man, we talked about a bunch of stocks yesterday, and a couple of them were standouts. If we knew they'd do great, we'd invest in them, but we just called out the news. It was SIGA and Twitter had great days. SIGA on the backs of dual catalysts from monkeypox, both a significant order, $28 million order, and also news that monkeypox is doubling every week in New York City. And that basically hit a new 52-week high. Did it? Yes, it did hit a new 52-week high by about 20 cents or so yesterday. That's SIGA. Not playing it, watching it. And, congrats to all of you who are on top of this early. I guess I don't want to be a pessimist about monkeypox. I don't know. I've been through enough with COVID. We all have. So I'm just watching from the bleachers on SIGA. Twitter was interesting because we noted that Twitter rebounded after they sued Elon Musk. Interesting that it held throughout the day rather than pulling right back to me, which indicates that idea, that sentiment has legs, that potentially Musk is going to have to buy Twitter at just a lower price, though. So that was very interesting. And then this morning we see Twitter down since 8 a.m., probably because they've had an outage. So I was telling our VIP of the room this morning, I was flying a little bit blind this morning. Part of the reason the show was a little bit late was it was harder to get information about what was moving the market. I had to go more through the TD Ameritrade news feed to find out the news because Twitter was not sending push notifications. Even when he logged in, he hit the notification button, nothing was happening. So, Twitter is really powerful if you have a nice curated list of people you follow over time. You can see who's reliable, who's not, who's credible with information, because news hits Twitter before it hits the wires, before it hits Bloomberg TV. You can have a 2 to 3 minute edge by having the right accounts on notifications. So we're flying a little bit blind this morning. So Twitter, a little bit ahead of that. You can see it in the news feed over here. Twitter is down. It says for some users, Twitter service appears to have resumed, crashes Thursday morning, all sorts of information about what was going on with Twitter. So that was very interesting. Oh man, there's a lot to cover. Kodak had news yesterday, EV battery news. Now, that was an exciting headline. Let's see if we can find it here. It says Kodak announces investment in company developing EV supercell batteries. It sounds like an exciting headline. And throughout the day, did some research on this company, and to me, it's still very much speculative. They're making an investment. They're not getting revenue from this deal. Now, the PR included, though, some progress on their existing business, EV battery coating business, and growth in that. So there are some metrics on that. But as far as the supercell thing, it's very much speculative. It's in the research stage. It's going to take another couple years. Viable. So maybe that's why I pulled back. I don't know. But still, if it was last year, the stock would be much higher. Anyway, Kodak has been relatively much stronger than a ton of other stocks this year. I still hold a position, and we'll see what happens there. You can see the 200-week or day moving average at 540. So that's the story with Kodak. Where are we now? Wow. I want to point out ESLT. I don't know if I put this on the show yesterday. This is an aerospace company. It's been on my watch list for a long time, and the news flow is just sick. I mean, over the last 3 weeks, they've gotten over $1 billion in business, and some of this stuff looks really interesting. Looks like they're expanding geographically what areas of the world they're serving. Starting to look like a mini Lockheed Martin or a Northrop Grumman over here. Israeli defense company. So this is very interesting, something I may consider getting a position into. Speaking of aerospace defense, TPCS, a microcap company, someone in our community know well. This a stock Mark Gomes has been an advocate for a long time. And again, we're speaking to him at 10 o'clock about something else, but they had earnings last night. I'm going to refrain from any opinions on it. We'll let the experts on TPCS figure out what's going on, and we'll see how the stock reacts, right? Basically, I'll tell you this, the backlog came in very strong, but profitability and profit margins, still a lot of questions over that. So how's this investor base going to react, right? Are they going to award the top line growth and the backlog growth? Or are they going to say, the hell with this, they're not making money yet, and we don't know exactly when they'll make money or what their profit margin goals are? So that's the push and pull here in the market, and we'll see how TPCS reacts, and that'll tell you what the investors are thinking about that report. All right. Ooh, wow. TXMD caught my attention yesterday because, well, it's been down so much, but this was being bought out for $10. All of a sudden, it's $5. This is a fascinating story. I don't have a position. This was once presented as a VIP pick a long time ago. It's been, offer coverage for like a year or so. but it was on our radar because of that previous presentation. I'm like, what is going on here? Down 50% from it was $10 all this time. So this is a very interesting story. This was a buyout through a tender offer, and they did not get enough people. They needed to get a majority of people to want to take the $10, and they didn't. Only 25% of investors signed up. The stock was $2 before the deal. It quintupled on this deal, and they still didn't want to take the money. So this is very interesting. We've been researching this. Why did investors turn that deal? I mean, there's a potential of this company basically going bankrupt right now because they didn't take that money. And there's a $1 price target Cantor Fitzgerald came out and put on it. But this is interesting because it's in that Roe v. Wade space. Anovera, it's like a hormonal contraceptive ring. So I don't know. I guess investors think it can go over 10, much more over 10, right? But so far they're wrong. It's down 50%. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to look at this because when you have that much conviction, 75% of the investor base convicted that they're willing to basically throw away $10 because of something better, well, that's worth researching to me. Even though superficially looks like they have huge balance sheet issues. I don't know, but we'll have to look into that. So very interesting story. DRIO, we're just waiting. Disappointed it hasn't happened yet. Q2 was guidance. It's now 2 weeks after Q2 for the huge national insurer deal. I know these things are late, but I did have a little bit of a bet on July calls just in case they were right on time. So I'll be losing money on that. I don't expect a PR on a Friday. If they do that tomorrow, I'll be wrong and I'll be very surprised. So at this point, I think the next possible opportunity for a PR will be on Monday. So goodbye to July calls. Anyway, had to try that. I saw this is my largest position, huge. I only had a very small amount in July calls, just playing it safe. Would have been some nice upside because they were cheaper. But that looks like it's not working out. LLKKF. Listen, this, I didn't have a chance to talk about this. I sold this right at the open the other day at 46 cents because a short report came out, which I read and seemed credible. Subsequently, after that 1 day of trading, the stock was halted for 2 days on the request by the company. I guess Australia allows this. So it was halted for 2 days until they can formulate a response. The response came out this morning, and I believe the stock has started trading. I think it was down 10% in Australia. I'm not entirely sure about that. That would equate to like this opening up at 39 cents or 40 cents, something like that here. Market opens in a few minutes. So that's the story with LLKKF. Huge short report, seemed credible. Haven't had a chance to read the response, which just came out this morning. I posted that in a couple of the rooms. So we can take a look at that and see what Tony has to say about it. This is a stock Tony brought to our attention. All right. I did want to point out, look, I'm not going to be able to get to everything I wanted to talk about, but I will say this. It has been very hard making money in the last 2 or 3 months, even story trading style, right? The first, like between November and March, we managed to pull out a whole bunch of winners still and defied the odds using the 4 pillars of sentiment, fundamentals, catalysts, and technicals. But the last 2 or 3 months, like every breakout fails. Every single break. It doesn't matter what the sentiment is, the catalyst, nothing. Every breakout fails. Very hard to trade, right? Lots of chop. So the play has been to sell, pop, sell news, and buy support levels. That's been the play. It's been hard to adjust to that after years of stocks like gapping and running on great news. So how have I been making money? The only thing that's been making me money, and I've had to adjust to this myself the last month or so, is selling volatility, selling covered calls, and selling cash secured puts. So I do have an account which was always designated for purely selling cash secured puts. And I stopped doing that in November because I was worried about the market crash. And I started doing it again about 6 weeks ago. I started selling cash secured puts again in that account. And just want to point out a couple successes. It was so far, it was 3 of them. PLAB, CLF, and XXII. I sold puts on. PLAB 1750 strikes, expires tomorrow. Collected like 60% annualized yield on that. CLF was, I think that was a $15 strike, but I collect like $1 or so. That expires in a couple weeks. XXII, $2 strike, 30 cents I collected on that. So when I do this, I'm looking for like 60 to 100% annual yields. Actually, the PLAB one I bought back yesterday for 5 cents, right? I sold it at like, let's say 60 cents or whatever it was. I bought it back for 5 cents so I could fund, because I needed cash to secure it, so I can fund selling puts on air yesterday at 750 strike for 75 cents, right? It's like 120% annualized yield, right? If it fails, I end up buying the stock at the lows, 675 right here, okay? Right there at the low. So that was the play for me on air. Yeah, if I saw it the day before, this was just not on my radar. I saw this. They were at a conference. They went up. They have earnings next week. So I'm like, okay, this is a good opportunity. That 675 is probably going to hold. So let me go do that. So that's been like the only way to make money. Like, yeah, we're trying to pick stocks. We're trying to play the catalyst. A lot of times they're not working. And the play is to sell the catalyst. And this is what's been working for me. I wanted to pass that along as we get into the open of the market here at 929. So I got to run. We'll see you in 30 minutes on Zoom. We'll put that link up again in the VIP rooms. We'll be talking Cantaloupe. Didn't have a chance to pull it up. It's right here. CTLP with Mark Gomes. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining.